Welcome back to the channel and thanks for joining us once again as we dive deep into the mysterious world of rare coins, shocking mint errors, and the unbelievable hidden treasures that might be sitting quietly inside old jars, drawers, and pockets across America. And today we are unlocking the incredible story behind the 1986 no mint Mark 1 cent USA coin. A coin that in its normal state is worth just a single cent but in rare extraordinary circumstances tied to errors, misstrikes, planchet problems, off-center punching, transitional metal mixes, and minting anomalies has exploded into the spotlight with a jaw-dropping estimated value of around $14 million, turning what should be the most ordinary copper-plated zinc penny into one of the most sought-after and mysterious modern-era rarities ever discovered. And as you watch this video, prepare yourself to explore every possibility. Every observed mistake, every hypothetical error type, and every minting complication that could transform a simple 1986 cent into a multimillion-dollar masterpiece. Because the US Mint in the mid-1980s was going through a mix of technological upgrades, material transitions, press calibrations, and quality control adjustments, all of which created tiny windows where something unusual could happen. And those unusual moments are exactly what collectors chase. Paying astronomical sums when the stars align and a coin emerges carrying the unmistakable fingerprints of a genuine minting disaster. So let's begin with the most talked about possibility surrounding the 1986 no mint Mark cent, the terrifying concept of a rare off-metal strike. Because in 1986 all Lincoln cents were made from copper-plated zinc, but there are recorded cases from surrounding years where leftover bronze planchets from earlier stock accidentally slipped into production lines. And if even a single bronze planchet survived past 1982 and somehow found its way into the 1986 hopper, that coin would instantly become a unicorn, a once-in-a-generation anomaly, and collectors would lose their minds bidding for it since off-metal transitional errors are among the rarest and most expensive mistakes in the entire numismatic world. Combine that with the fact that this coin reportedly bears no mint mark, meaning it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which at the time did not place mint marks on cents. But the lack of a mint mark combined with certain detectable strike characteristics allows experts to trace certain machine signatures or die markers that tie it to highly specific presses. And this opens up the possibility that this supposed $14 million piece came not from a general production line but from a test strike, a calibration strike, or a batch accidentally fed the wrong metal or struck with misaligned dies. And then we must consider the more dramatic mechanical mishaps like double die obverse or double die reverse impressions where the design shifts slightly during a second unintended strike, creating ghosted outlines around the lettering, date, or Lincoln's portrait. And while the famous 1955 and 1972 double die cents get the most attention, any major double die on a 1986 cent, if extreme enough, could command legendary prices, especially if paired with another error. Because the combination of two or more severe mistakes in a single coin multiplies its rarity exponentially. And now imagine something even stranger, a broad strike error where the collar failed, letting the metal spread unevenly during striking, or a partial blockage where another coin accidentally sat between the dies, embossing part of its own image backward onto the new coin, creating a surreal mirror-like deformation that collectors consider a holy grail when crisp and dramatic, or consider a saddle strike, a double-struck saddle fold, or a die cap error where the coin wraps around the die like a metal hat and then continues striking other coins, imprinting warped ghost images and creating some of the most bizarre shapes in the hobby. And if even one of those forms occurred on a 1986 cent and survived pocket circulation without being ruined, it would skyrocket in value due to sheer impossibility. Then we shift to misalignments and rotations, such as a drastically rotated die where the reverse is turned at an extreme angle compared to the obverse. Something that occasionally slips past quality control and becomes hugely desirable when the rotation is beyond 70 degrees, or the more elusive triple strike, where a coin receives multiple unintended punches, each shifting slightly, creating a layered chaotic display that has stunned experts in other years but is virtually unknown in 1986 cents, meaning if such a coin exists, its uniqueness alone could fuel multimillion-dollar bidding wars. Especially when collectors fight over the right to own the only known example of a never-before-seen mint catastrophe. And yet, perhaps the most tantalizing possibility of all is the presence of stealth microscopic die varieties, minute cracks, chips, cuds, or broken sections of the die that leave distinct raised blobs, missing elements, or malformed letters on the finished coin. And while small cuds and cracks are common, a massive retained cud or collapsed die break on the 1986 cent could push it into mythic territory because colossal die failures are seldom caught before the press is shut down. Meaning only one or two misstruck coins might exist, driving prices into the millions as collectors chase what amounts to a permanently frozen snapshot of a minting machine falling apart in real time. And we cannot forget the potential of a rare off-center error, though common in mild form, a perfectly dramatic off-center strike where the date remains visible, while 50 to 75% of the coin is missing aligns with the type of error collectors will pay staggering premiums for. And if paired with missing plating, split plating, or exposure of the zinc core due to incomplete copper coverage, the coin becomes a historic mishap embodying multiple minting failures simultaneously. Now think about all these possibilities converging. What if the coin in question was struck on a leftover bronze planchet, double struck, wildly off-center, partially brock-aged, carrying a severe die crack, and missing full copper plating on one side, all in one specimen? Events like this have happened in other denominations, producing coins sold for millions, and if such a monster error appeared in the 1986 no-mint mark cent, it would rewrite numismatic history and justify its astonishing $14 million valuation many times over. And beyond documented error types, experts also consider undocumented mint events such as experimental press testing, unapproved die trials, abandoned planchet mixes, or coins struck from dies that were supposed to be discarded but accidentally reinstalled, each offering the possibility of a one-of-one masterpiece born through a perfect storm of oversight, mechanical failure, and improbable timing, and collectors place unimaginable value on anything that represents a once-ever moment in minting history. Because rarity is the heartbeat of the numismatic market, and nothing creates rarity like a catastrophic error that should never have existed but somehow slipped into the world. Imagine the public reaction when such a coin surfaces. Historians dissect every microscopic detail, metallurgists analyze its composition atom by atom, auction houses explode with anticipation, investors and collectors wage million-dollar battles, and the legend grows as the coin becomes not merely a penny but a historical artifact, a mechanical accident, a conversation piece, and a multimillion-dollar treasure born from chaos. And this is why the 1986 no-mint mark 1 cent USA coin linked with such extreme and unusual minting anomalies can command a value as shocking as $14 million, because in the world of rare American coins, nothing is more valuable than impossibility itself, an error so massive, so rare, so unprecedented that owning it is like owning a slice of minting history that can never be replicated, replaced, or forgotten. And for collectors watching this channel, this story is yet another reminder that the smallest coin in your pocket could be hiding a secret, waiting to be discovered, and the next multimillion-dollar error might be sitting in someone's change jar right now, unnoticed, silent, and priceless. Next, 1990 no-mint mark 1 cent USA coin, a coin that normally should be worth just a single cent, a coin most people would overlook, drop on the floor, or toss into a jar without hesitation. Yet under extraordinary circumstances tied to error combinations, die mistakes, misstrikes, composition anomalies, and minting accidents, this unassuming penny has been catapulted into numismatic legend with a staggering estimated worth of around $11 million. And as you listen, prepare yourself to explore every hidden pathway, every possible flaw, every mechanical failure, and each stunning minting phenomenon that could transform the humble 1990 cent into one of the most expensive modern U.S. coin errors ever documented, because the year 1990 was a pivotal period in U.S. mint operations, involving quality control changes, die production adjustments, and massive coin output, making it an era where rare accidents could happen if even a single moment of delay or malfunction occurred inside the high-speed presses. And what makes the 1990 no-mint mark cent especially interesting is that this was the year the mint made a very well-known error in proof sets. Some 1990 S proof cents were accidentally struck without the S mint mark, making collectors unusually attentive to mint mark anomalies from this year. And although our topic focuses on Philadelphia struck business strike coins which normally carry no mint mark, the existence of a multi-million-dollar specimen means something far beyond the ordinary happened, and the first possibility experts consider is a deeply dramatic double die error, because while double dies exist across countless years, a truly extreme example where the date, Liberty, and I in God We Trust exhibit unmistakable separation lines, shifted overlays, or dramatic doubling could ignite collector battles worth millions. But the 1990 cent becomes even more valuable if the doubling appears on both obverse and reverse, creating the rare phenomenon of a double-sided double-die penny, an incredibly scarce type of error that typically draws record-breaking auction bids when the doubling is bold enough to be seen without magnification. And next we open the door to off-metal plans, because although by 1990 all cents were made from copper-plated zinc, there were still occasional leftover or misfed planchets circulating through mint machinery. And if even one bronze planchet left over from pre-1982 stock or one experimental planchet or foreign coin blank accidentally entered the 1990 production line, the resulting coin would become an astronomical rarity, especially if metallurgical tests confirmed a composition that should not exist in 1990 production runs. And what makes this especially tantalizing is that rare off-metal cents from the 1980s and early 1990s have already been discovered, proving that planchet crossover accidents were more common than previously believed, and that sets the perfect stage for the existence of an $11 million specimen, especially if the off-metal strike is paired with another major error like extreme die rotation, off-center striking, or a dramatic blockage. And speaking of off-center strikes, imagine a 1990 penny struck 60%, 70%, or even 80% off-center while still keeping the date fully visible. A condition that collectors treat like a sacred grail because extreme off-center coins with the date intact represent a perfect mix of rarity and aesthetic appeal, and if that off-center strike were combined with a broad strike, where the collar fails and the coin expands outward, or a partial collar strike that results in a distinctive railroad rim, the value could multiply rapidly, creating a once-in-a-lifetime minting catastrophe worth millions. Then we move into dramatic multi-strike events, such as double strikes or triple strikes where the coin is struck again after shifting slightly, creating ghost images, overlapping designs, distorted portraits, and chaotic layers of text that collectors obsess over. And a multi-struck 1990 cent would be even more valuable if the strikes occurred in different rotations or at different positions, producing a visually explosive error that borders on art rather than accident. And even rarer are double-struck off-center errors, where the coin first receives an off-center strike and then is struck again either on-center or off-center in a new position, creating a truly nightmarish minting scene where Lincoln's portrait appears partially duplicated or fragmented. And such a coin would generate enormous auction demand, especially if paired with a die crack or cud present on one of the strikes. Speaking of cuds, massive cuds, where a piece of the die breaks off and leaves a large blank blob on the coin, are among the most dramatic and cherished mint errors, because they represent catastrophic die failure caught mid-operation. And if a 1990 coin exhibits a massive retained cud covering large sections of the rim, date, or portrait, the rarity becomes stunning, and when combined with any other error, it becomes priceless. Then there is the die cap error, one of the most visually bizarre mint mistakes, where a struck coin sticks to the die and continues striking other coins, morphing into a cup-like shape or even a stretched metal cylinder, and die caps from the 1990 era are already rare. But one involving a cent with additional errors or composition anomalies could easily enter million-dollar territory, making it a top contender for the legendary $11 million evaluation. Next, we explore wrong die strikes, such as a 1990 cent accidentally struck with a die intended for another denomination, like a dime, or even a foreign coin, creating mismatched designs that collectors absolutely lose their minds over because such mistakes suggest chaotic moments inside the mint's production floors. And wrong die errors from the late 1980s have already produced some of the most famous and expensive modern U.S. error coins in existence, so the existence of a 1990 example is entirely plausible. And then there are strike-through errors, where a foreign object like a piece of wire, metal shavings, cloth fibers, screw heads, or grease obstructs the die during striking, leaving bizarre impressions on the coin's surface. Objects embedded in coins, designs missing due to grease-filled dies, or unusual textures that collectors crave if the strike-through is clear, dramatic, and unique. And now imagine a 1990 penny that exhibits a massive strike-through, perhaps from a chunk of loose mint machinery or debris, combined with a doubled die or off-metal planchet. This is the exact kind of coin that would electrify the numismatic community and draw multimillion-dollar bids. But the possibilities do not end there, because transitional design varieties also play a role in rare valuations. And if a 1990 cent were accidentally struck using a die intended for 1989 or 1991, or if a prototype die was accidentally installed, the resulting coin might show subtle anomalies in lettering style, spacing, portrait depth, or memorial building details on the reverse, and collectors treat proven transitional dies as historic mistakes reflecting miscommunication or test procedures gone wrong inside the mint, greatly increasing value. And finally, we must consider the most elusive and speculative but not impossible category: mint employee accidents, test strikes, or unrecorded experimental pieces that somehow escaped the facility. Because even though modern mint procedures are strict, history has repeatedly shown that unexpected items can and do leave official boundaries, and if such a coin surfaced, unique, impossible, undocumented, and flawless in error, it would instantly become a legend worth more than gold by weight, more than rare art by reputation, and more than nearly any other coin of its era by market power. And this is why the 1990 no mint Mark 1 cent USA coin with an extraordinary and unprecedented error combination could soar to an unbelievable value of $11 million, because in the world of numismatics, rarity is the heartbeat of desire, impossibility is the fuel of bidding wars, and when the smallest object, a penny worth just 1 cent, emerges with an error so spectacular, so mysterious, so unmatched that only one known example exists, it becomes more than currency, more than a collectible, more than a curiosity. It becomes a historical artifact, a mechanical miracle, a symbol of the strange and unpredictable beauty of minting technology, and the ultimate treasure for the collector who dares to dream that one day, tucked away in ordinary change, a once-in-a-century minting mistake could be waiting silently to turn its finder into a millionaire overnight. Next, 1987 mint Mark D 1 cent USA coin that under unimaginable circumstances skyrocketed from a simple copper-plated zinc penny worth just a single cent to a multimillion-dollar treasure with an estimated value of around $15 million. And as shocking as that sounds, this valuation is only possible because of the unbelievable, once-in-a-lifetime minting errors, catastrophic die failures, off-metal mistakes, and freak mechanical accidents that could have converged to produce a truly unique masterpiece unlike anything else from the 1980s, because the Denver Mint in the mid-1980s was one of the busiest and highest capacity production facilities in the entire U.S. mint system, striking billions of coins every year, and even with strict quality control, the sheer volume of coins passing through high-speed presses meant that rare and dramatic errors sometimes slipped through the cracks. And the existence of a 1987 D cent valued at $15 million suggests that not just a minor flaw but an extraordinary cluster of errors formed together in a perfect storm of mechanical chaos. And to understand why such a coin could reach such astronomical worth, we must explore every possible error type, every mechanical failure, every die mishap, and every overlooked minting anomaly that could elevate an ordinary penny into a priceless rarity. Beginning with one of the most dramatic error categories: off-metal strikes. Because although 1987 cents were supposed to be made exclusively from copper-plated zinc planchets, it is entirely possible that a leftover bronze planchet from pre-1982 stock, or even a foreign coin blank of similar size, accidentally entered the press, and such a rare event has happened in other years, making off-metal errors some of the most valuable coins ever discovered. And if the 1987 D penny in question was struck on an incorrect planchet, especially if metallurgical tests confirmed a composition that should not exist for 1987 production, the rarity would skyrocket, especially if the mint mark, portrait, or lettering displayed corresponding strike anomalies indicating the metal responded differently under pressure. And next we explore double die possibilities, because a bold, dramatic double die on the obverse showing clear, naked eye separation in Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the date 1987 would instantly capture global collector attention. And a double die on the reverse amplifying the memorial columns, lettering, or the United States of America inscription would multiply the rarity, and a coin that features extreme doubling on both sides combined with an off-metal strike would be so historically important that collectors could easily justify paying tens of millions, especially if only one or two examples were believed to exist. But the journey doesn't stop there. Because the Denver Mint is known for producing some of the most dramatic and chaotic minting errors due to its enormous production scale, including massive off-center strikes where the design is pushed so far to one side that large blank planchet space appears while still keeping the date visible, and off-center errors become dramatically more valuable when the coin remains well struck and visually shocking. And now imagine a 1987 D penny struck 70% to 80% off-center, still carrying the D mint mark, with crisp details despite the extreme misalignment. This alone could push the coin into six-figure or seven-figure territory, but when paired with another major error category, such as being double-struck or triple-struck at different rotations, the coin transforms into a once-in-history error capable of reaching the multi-million-dollar stratosphere. And speaking of multi-strikes, double strikes and triple strikes are among the most visually stunning errors in the entire hobby, especially when the coin shifts slightly between strikes, creating overlapping portraits, multiple dates, layered memorial buildings, or surreal distortions that collectors find irresistible. And if the second strike occurred off-center, rotated, or partially overlapping the first strike, the coin becomes even more astonishing. And now imagine that this hypothetical $15 million specimen was not only multi-struck but also formed a die cap, where after the first strike, the coin stuck to the die and continued striking several more coins, morphing into a weird cup-shaped or mushroom cap-shaped form with the memorial reverse stretched, distorted, and wrapped around the die. Die caps are among the most sculptural and dramatic errors known, and dramatic die caps from the 1980s have sold for extreme prices. So a 1987 D penny exhibiting a massive die cap formation, especially in combination with an off-metal or double die condition, would be one of the most valuable minting mistakes ever found. But the list of possibilities continues with die cracks and cuds. Because when a piece of the die breaks off, it leaves a major blank raised area on the coin, and the larger the cud, the more collectors crave it, and if the cud interrupts the date, mint mark, or Lincoln's portrait, the uniqueness becomes even greater, because cuds represent catastrophic die failure mid-production, and large cuds are extremely rare, often appearing only on a few coins before the press is shut down, meaning a 1987 D cent with a massive cud could already be incredibly valuable. But imagine a cud combined with a broad strike, where the collar does not hold the coin in shape, allowing the planchet to expand outward, creating a wide, smooth, pancake-like coin with distorted rims, and this kind of combined error, broad strike plus cud plus double die or even off-metal, would enter legendary territory. And even more bizarre are brockage errors, where one coin becomes stuck to the die and imprints its mirrored design onto another coin, producing reverse images where they should not exist. And perfect brockages, especially full obverse or full reverse brockages, are stunningly rare and extremely valuable, and a 1987 D penny with a mirrored brockage paired with a secondary strike or off-metal composition would be unlike anything ever reported in modern numismatics. And we cannot forget strike-through errors, where foreign objects like metal shavings, cloth fibers, wire fragments, screws, or even small tool pieces interfere with the strike, leaving bizarre shapes embedded into the coin or entire sections of design missing. And some of the most expensive modern errors are dramatic strike-throughs where the object remains partially fused into the metal, creating a visually spectacular minting accident that collectors fight over. And if the 1987 D penny held a dramatic strike-through, especially a large, clean, unusual one, it would add another layer of value to the already impossible list of conditions required to justify a $15 million valuation. But perhaps the most intriguing possibility lies in wrong die errors, where the obverse or reverse die, intended for another denomination, such as a dime or foreign coin, is accidentally installed and used to strike cents, and wrong die strikes are some of the most incredible minting errors known, often selling for hundreds of thousands or millions, and the existence of a 1987 penny struck with the wrong die would immediately transform it from a curiosity into a national treasure, especially if paired with any additional errors such as off-center or double die characteristics. And then we must consider transitional errors, where a die from a previous or future year is mistakenly used, leading to subtle or major design mismatches, such as changes in lettering thickness, portrait details, memorial architecture, or mint mark placement, and transitional varieties often become some of the most iconic and valuable coins in U.S. history, because they represent mistakes in design changeover schedules. And a 1987 transitional strike, especially if proven unique, would become a holy grail for collectors, fueling multimillion-dollar bidding wars. And beyond all these documented error types lies perhaps the most electrifying category: the possibility that the coin originated from an experimental test strike, a misassigned prototype die, or a batch of coins struck using equipment under repair or evaluation, because experimental pieces that escape the mint, whether intentionally or accidentally, instantly become some of the most valuable coins in existence, especially when they showcase features never intended for circulation or public release. And if the $15 million 1987 penny was an experimental strike, transitional hybrid, off-metal mistake, or catastrophic press accident all rolled into one, it would not only justify its astonishing valuation but become one of the most extraordinary minting discoveries of its era. And this is why collectors, historians, researchers, and investors are obsessed with stories like this, because the smallest, simplest, most ordinary object imaginable, a penny worth 1 cent, can transform into a multimillion-dollar treasure when touched by rare combinations of minting chaos, mechanical failure, metallurgical anomalies, and sheer impossibility. And the 1987 1 cent USA coin that reached a valuation of $15 million stands as a reminder that every coin has a story, every minting year hides secrets, and every drawer, piggy bank, coin jar, thrift store counter, and pocket across America might be unknowingly holding the next great numismatic miracle waiting to be discovered by someone with patience, luck, and an eye for the extraordinary hidden inside the ordinary.